What up, folks? Welcome to Iron Brigade. If you want to catch up on what we've learned today in stopping the steal, you can head on over to the Facebook page at John Tole, JOHNTOLE, or at Real John Tole. And everything that we're going to be discussing today can be found on my timeline over there. Starting with, how about just our general attitude in this? All right, we can keep our best foot forward, to stay positive and trust the processes, and the good guys will continue to be the good guys. And that's where you and I come in as the good guys, to continue to act in a positive and a giving manner. This is no time for hatred, for grumpiness. That's what's happening on the other side of the aisle. For the folks who have no idea what is happening in the courts, that I believe we've flipped our 11th seat today in the House. I was listening to El Rushbo today, and the gentleman who filled in there had a great idea of something that we can do. And that's really what we're down to, is that the people, it's all hands on deck right now. The data scientists are doing as much as they can do. They're learning how these software programs work. They're getting absolute affidavits from whistleblowers. You know, when they're feeding in 50 ballots at a time, if they have an issue with one of the ballots, what they're supposed to do is take the pack out and then put the ballot that had a problem on top of it, delete the result, and then send the 50 back through. What they were doing is getting a glitch and just sending the same batch through without ever clearing the file. So those data scientist people can figure out when that happened, how many times that happened, and if anybody went inside of the system and did anything quote unquote nefarious. Is it a glitch? They seemingly seem to think that it is more of a feature, that if you put in a blank ballot, it can trigger the machine to do something, which then they can, however it works. We're going to allow the data scientists to be the data scientists. I'm going to continue to read as much news coming out of the individual court cases and what's going on state by state, so that all you have to do is tune in here for 10 minutes a night and you'll be as caught up as I am. How much time am I saving you? Thank you. It's what I can do for you. So, but what you can do for all of this, all right? Make sure that your vote has been counted. Go onto your state's website and make sure that indeed your vote was counted. If you see anything that happened with your vote, if it did appear to have any problems with it, you can go lodge a complaint with your elections board. That's what you legally can do. There's a copy of a letter here, which you of course change the date on it for the November 3rd, 2020 election. If you send a letter to Donald Trump there in the White House, if every single Trump voter sent a letter to the White House, what that visually would look like if Donald Trump showed up with 71 million pieces of mail of patriots and Americans who demand a 50-state recanvassing and an audit and a manual recount. And we're not going to allow a third party or a non-government organization to use software to rig an election to put in a person who they think is going to be better off for their bottom line. And obviously it's not going well, and you can tell it's not going well because of how hard they are back now on the lockdowns. It's back into misery theater. Cancel your Thanksgiving, forget about Christmas. They're already saying they're going to lock down the economy for 4 to 6 weeks. We already have the data upon data that the first time we locked down was a terrible tragedy. They're already planning to do it again. Just be prepared for these things to come down. It comes down to the ultimate amount of misery that they can put into your lives if you choose to allow it to affect you. But if you're a person of faith, you're a positive person, you're handling the things that you can handle, and the things that are out of your hands are out of your hands, folks. It's in God's hands. But the things that you can do, send a letter to Donald Trump, and a copy and a version of that letter is on the Facebook page. We're starting to get some information about who Joe Biden is going to pick for his chief of staff. And that guy was tweeting on February 28th. Mr. Ronald Klain said the following: hey, if you want to do something useful today, go to Chinatown, buy a meal, go shopping. The virus attacks humans, not people of any ethnicity or race. Fear is hurting Chinese Americans, own businesses baselessly. Let's fight the disease and let's fight prejudice. With a pandemic that they knew was coming and raging, here is another person, just like Nancy Pelosi said, go down to Chinatown and suck off a bat. We also have the lady who's in charge of certifying the election in Arizona tweeted on August 15th in 2017. She said Trump has made it abundantly clear he's more interested in pandering to his neo-Nazi base than being POTUS for all Americans. Does that sound like a person who's going to do a fair and balanced job certifying an election that they're still counting? He might not be able to overcome the amount of ballots that he's currently behind in Arizona. Who knows? We have great news coming out of Pennsylvania today. Huge news, in fact, because they said that no ballots. First of all, if you had a mail-in or you had a what's the ballot you can mail out and get an absentee, right? How it's supposed to be done is they all arrive in a place and they're held till the morning of the election. And at the morning of the election is the first time anyone is allowed to look at them. And then they have from the 9th to handle any issues, signatures not matching, no ID present, whatever an issue would be that would get a ballot kicked out. And we're not exactly sure how many ballots that is actually going to affect, but the bigger issue and the real screw up that the left made is when they entered into this court case, they admitted that 3 days prior to the election, they were already going out and curing these ballots. So the ballots that were supposed to be not even looked at and not even touched until the morning of the election, they admitted in open court that they had been working ahead. You can go onto Tracy Beans' feed there on Twitter, and she has a great breakdown of what happened in that case today. We're going to have huge whistleblowers coming in Wisconsin and in Michigan. And let's see, we're looking at overcoming 140 something ballots in Michigan. But if they found so many quote unquote glitches or errors that we've found so far, when they go county by county, folks, you're going to see more dead people off the rolls, only legal votes being counted. And ultimately what this comes down to is showing widespread fraud. And if they show widespread fraud, then the election is completely null and void. And like we've said before, it kicks to the House. And that's great news. Again, trust the institutions, but also trust that there are people who are working night and day to ensure that this coup succeeds. They're all in the tank, and they know what it means if they fail. Members of the media, members of left-wing groups that have invaded the media, who are pretending to be journalists when they're really leftist activists. We're being found out of that today. And one of the saddest things, Molly McCann put out a PDF today. Go read that. It's on the Bards FM Twitter page. And she said that we're getting really slow-walked by the DOJ and by the FBI. And so where we need justice to come in, they're dragging their heels. And where we need these counts and these recounts to come in, they're dragging their heels. I don't know that in Georgia they're going to do an entire recount like they're supposed to. They could just pull a tiny amount of ballots and look at them and go, nah, looks good. Go F yourself. We don't know. But what it's going to come down to is there are two things you can do today. Again, write your letter to Donald Trump, but get on the phone. Call up the people in your state legislature. They're on the internet. Find out who they are and demand, and is your God-given right, that they do not certify a fraudulent election. Because if the vote can't be certified, then they can't send the electors. And if they can't send the electors, then it goes to the House. It goes to SCOTUS, it kicks it back to the House. That is our plan right now. So far, what they're saying is a 20% chance But every day, again, it's not so much about the crime, it's the covering up of the crime that really shows their hand. And all hands are on deck right now. 73 million Trump supporters are working to ensure that this republic stands. God bless America. Be the eagle.